Hello and welcome back. Laos, what an amazing country, and often considered an underrated travel destination. But over the years it's been gaining in popularity, primarily due to its nature, and that presents an awesome opportunity for some amazing aerial shots. So, if you're planning a trip to Laos and thinking of taking a drone with you, then you should really watch this video till the end. Because in this video I will break down all the rules around operating your drone in Laos, the registration process to get your drone registered in Laos, and also the customs process to bring your drone safely into Laos. So the drone regulations in Laos have been in place for quite some time, but due to a vague implementation and enforcement, there's quite a lot of conflicting information out there on the internet. And it's quite easy to understand why some people just take the rules for granted and end up, in some cases, facing serious penalties. So, in Laos, drones are split into three categories. First category is drones under 200 grams, which are considered toys and do not require registration. However, they do still need to follow the operational guidelines of a drone, which we'll discuss a bit later on in the video. The second category of drones is between 200 grams and 1 kilogram, and that requires registration. And the third one, above 1 kilogram, which requires additional registration on top of the middle category. And the drone rules are governed by two government agencies, one being Department of Civil Aviation Authority of Laos, or DCAL, and the other one being Ministry of Post and Telecommunications, or MPT. MPT is responsible for issuing the permits for drone operational frequency. MPT is responsible for monitoring the radio frequency that the drones use, and also responsible for issuing the radio frequency certificate for drones. So in simple terms, it's basically responsible for product approval in country. So the product which you use in country does not interfere with infrastructure of the country, and especially radio frequencies. And Civil Aviation Authority of Laos is responsible for developing and enforcing the drone operational rules, including no-fly zones, pilot licensing, and on top of it, it's also responsible for custom regulation and importation of drones. So now, with having an understanding of the governing structure of drone rules in Laos, let's look at the overall drone operational rules that you need to follow when flying the drone in Laos. And they are: the maximum altitude of flying your drone is 120 meters. You must operate your drone during daylight hours only. You must operate your drone only in favorable weather condition. You should not operate your drone within 8 kilometers of any airport and 3 kilometers of any heliport. You should not operate your drone over people or crowds. You should not operate your drone within 30 meters of any person, vehicle or structure that is not under your direct control. You should not operate your drone over sensitive areas such as military, government, police, and certain temples. You should not operate your drone over urban areas. While operating your drone, you always need to respect the privacy of others. You should operate your drone within visual line of sight. And the drone operational frequency should be between 2400 and 2500 megahertz, or 5725 and 5875 megahertz. And if your drone operates outside those frequencies, MPT simply will not approve it and will not issue radio frequency certificate for drones. And if you don't get that one, you won't be able to bring your drone into the country. So with those general rules out of the way, how do you actually register your drone? It's a multi-step approach because there are different government departments involved. And as mentioned in the beginning of the video, there are three types of classification for drones. They're under 200 grams, between 200 grams and 1 kilogram, and above 1 kilogram. So in this video, I will focus on the registration for the drones between 200 grams and 1 kilogram, because that's the most frequent type of drones tourists use. So the registration process starts with an application to MPT. Unfortunately, there is no online process, so you will need to contact them directly via email. And the contact information should be on the screen now and also will be in the description. So when contacting them, you will need to provide your passport details, your estimated arrival time, the drone details, including pictures, serial number, and technical information. Once you've submitted that, it takes about 1 to 2 weeks to get your radio frequency drone certificate. Once you've got that certificate, you can proceed to the next stage. The second stage is registering your drone with Civil Aviation Authority of Laos. And that unfortunately also does not have an online process. So again, you will have to contact them by mail. And the contact details should be on your screen right now and also will be in the description. When sending your application to Civil Aviation Authority of Laos, you need to provide just about the same information, but you also need to include the radio frequency certificate for drones which you received from MPT. Without that certificate, your application will be rejected. Once you've sent it through, it takes about 2 weeks to get an approval. So as you can see, the whole process can take up to about 4 weeks, and that needs to be done before you arrive to Laos. So make sure if you are planning to travel to Laos with your drone, allocate at least 4 weeks for the registration process. Now let's talk about customs. Drone importation is strictly controlled in Laos customs. But the good news here, it's also enforced and regulated by Civil Aviation Authority of Laos. So to bring your drone into Laos, you need to be registered as importer, and your drone also need to have an import permission. Again, the good news here is that when you do the registration with Civil Aviation Authority, you generally get that registered as well at the same time. Unfortunately, sometimes it gets overlooked. So if you haven't received the drone import permit, you should contact the Civil Aviation Authority of Laos and request it based on approval of your registration. Additionally, on top of all of this, there is also import fees involved. And generally, they are 10% of the value of your drone. Now, the question is, how is the value determined? And it can be two options. Number one is the officials can look at retail price of your drone and based on that say this is the value of your drone. Alternatively, you can get your drone valued in your home country and have a valuation certificate if it's a second-hand or an older drone. However, having the valuation certificate done quite often can be more than the actual customs fee of 10% that you're going to pay. So this is something for you to evaluate which way it's better for you to go, either to pay 10% of retail price or get the valuation certificate done in your home country. Now, with all of it being said, would you take your drone to Laos? I think yes. Providing you get the registration done, by all means take your drone to Laos. It's an amazing country, it has some amazing landscapes, and you'll really enjoy flying there. Just make sure you get the registration done. Don't get on the side of violating the law and possibly facing consequences for it. And that's about it. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please do give it a like, subscribe, or if you have any questions, drop us a comment below and we'll try to answer as many questions as possible. So thank you for watching and have a safe travel.